Welcome back to Jeremy Kyle Live. This evening, the Commons is debating over the illegal migration bill designed to deliver on Rishi Sunak's pledge to stop the boats. After last year saw a record-breaking number cross the English Channel, with over 45,000 making the journey.
A further 5,000 people have arrived this year already, with this housing, most of them in hotels, costing the taxpayer a staggering £6 million a day. So this bill could not only solve one of the biggest problems facing our country, but could also be the crowning glory of Rishi Sunak's premiership. Joining us to discuss this are immigration lawyer Ivon Sampson and former UKIP leader Henry Bolton. Ivon, is this bill going to fix the problem?
I don't think it will, and I certainly don't think it's going to deter people coming to the UK. Look, the bill is unlawful in itself because it breaches our obligations under the Refugee Convention. You heard Robert Jenrick say this morning that asylum seekers coming here are asylum shopping. Well, what the law says is that asylum seekers don't need to claim asylum in the first country they go to. That's the law. It also says you can't send an asylum seeker to a country where they face persecution. If you've read the human rights reports on Rwanda, both Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, you will know that Paul Kagame is responsible for arbitrary arrests, extrajudicial killings, unlawful detention of political opponents. I'd like to see you, Jake, go to Rwanda and have a...
We've heard the lawyer's answer. Yeah, and I'm a lawyer myself, you're a lefty lawyer, I'm a righty one. We'll see how we get on. We've heard the lawyer's answer. But look, just think about the British people. They see thousands of people, nearly 50,000 people last year, coming from France. And they look at half term. There was chaos in Dover. That was all the British people trying to go to France on their holidays. Why are people having to flee France? Surely France should be offering asylum and a home to people when they're in their country, rather than sort of signposting them on and push them across the channel to lose their life in this appalling trade in human beings.
Sorry, Jake, can I just quickly pick you up on that?
Yeah.
We're 16th in the EU bloc for taking asylum seekers. So we're 16. We're not actually...
Emily, look,
I'm just picking you up on that because it is a fact. It's actually a fact on our government website.
And
so
Robert Jenrick said
a lot of them until recently were coming from Albania.
We've also got to be careful, though, Emily, because, you know, if we play that game and we all try to outdo each other as to how many people we take, well, you know, we've got to think about our own people, our own public services and utilities and infrastructure to cope with it. But also, the more people that the European bloc, the European Union, that Europe takes, then the more we're going to be attracting other people. And that is going to just build and build and build until the whole thing collapses. So, you know...
I can agree with you that, and I would like to add that we have been we've taken 154,000 Ukrainians last year, 20,000 from Afghanistan. And actually, as you say...
I just thought you'd give Jake a hard time.
No, but stop the votes. No, but I'm agreeing. I just think we ought to have the facts straight, because I think Emily, the argument gets very sort of locked in to,
facts,
oh my God, we take more asylum seekers than everyone else. We don't.
500,000 people have come to this country, almost through safe and legal routes. Surely these people coming across the channel, risking their lives, they're queue jumping, aren't they?
They're coming through that route because they don't know how else to come.
But they're jumping the queue, though. That's why they're young men, because they're fit, they're able to make the journey, they can afford it.
They're ignoring the queue.
They're leaving the women and children behind.
I'm not sure they're bypassing the queue, jumping it. You mentioned Albanians, and
16,000.
That's reducing. Yeah, it's reducing now, but it's a good example because it demonstrates beyond all doubt that many people who are coming are economic migrants. They come from safe countries, they transit safe countries, and they are coming here as economic migrants.
So you agree with the Rob Jenrick asylum shopping comparison?
For most of the people who come across the channel, I agree. I don't agree that this bill is going to solve it. I support the bill, but I think it's weakly drafted. I think there are a whole range of flaws in it. It would be great to have a conversation with somebody about that. But
do we not think this is at least a step in the right direction? Because, Ivon, I understand...
it will not stop people coming.
I think it won't, but should we not be sending the message out? Because they're also saying that if you arrive here illegally, you will be detained. Now, in Australia, that did work, because I appreciate that we worry that not every single person on that boat is an economic migrant, and we have facts to prove that is the case. I worry the public are now convinced, because of some of the language, by the way, by Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick, that every single person on that boat is either a criminal or an economic migrant. Well, it's simply not true. There are a proportion. There are, and we shouldn't, by the way, undermine what they're saying, because in many ways it's true.
There's one question which you failed to answer.
But we do have to deter, because the rise of the small boats is huge.
He's reversing the road ceremony. Come on.
What are the safe legal routes? What are they? Give me three safe legal routes.
We just let the Ukrainians in, 154,000. We've let 20,000 Afghanistan.
But they're not asylum seekers.
But look, the government...
They're not refugees,
The government has to govern for the majority of people in this country. We've got a poll here of TalkTV viewers say that 97% think that people who have come here illegally shouldn't be able to claim asylum. 97% of the British people. Surely this is Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman and other government ministers actually delivering what the British people want, which is to uphold a sovereign immigration policy which should welcome people in through safe and legal routes, but will stop the queue jumpers coming over the channel.
That's the intent I absolutely support. I've got legal concerns over, I'm not a lawyer, but I've got some legal concerns over some of the detail of the legislation. But more importantly, the aim is to deter people coming across on the boats. But actually that's not going to happen, because by the time people have reached France, they've already been brought into the people's sort of smuggling networks and channels. They've got no way back, effectively. They've only got the way forward to go. It's not going to deter them, because what's being missed out on this is the absolute fact that the people smugglers have got a very, very efficient marketing programme in all of these countries of origin and along the routes. Now, I know this because I led the UK's efforts in the Southern Balkans to disrupt people smuggling networks until Tony Blair pulled funding on it in 2006.
And I can back you up on this, I'm sorry, but in 2002, under the Labour government, illegal migration had risen to 84,000. By 2010, under the Tory government, it had fallen again to 17,000.
Correct.
Now, that was partly because they managed to stop people coming over in the trucks, I believe.
Yeah, indeed.
So,
and because Somalia.
It has steadily risen again during 2021 and 2022 because they're coming across in the small boats. And I think that is genuinely what the public are worried about.
Yes, it's visible. It's
and
visible.
we are seeing, I mean, you know, a year and a bit ago, I was reporting about dead people
We're taking
up in
less
the sea,
asylum
on the
seekers
beach.
now than we were in 2002. 100,000 asylum seekers a year. I was practicing that then. 2002. We're taking less. We're not taking enough asylum seekers.
Well,
we're not taking our fair share.
I think we just fixed. This is talking about us fixing the illegal.
What will fix it is a deal with France. There's nothing else going to stop people coming.
France has then got a problem as well, because they're still going to be coming to France. But we've got to upstream this. We've got to take this further upstream to disrupt the people smuggling networks. And rather than take the deterrent to the people who are trying to come here, we've got to take the deterrent to the criminals who are facilitating that movement.
Well, let's hear.
Can I just say, Stephen
some of the economic migrants.
Let's hear from Talk TV viewers, because we can get involved using the hashtag JKLive on the socials. Dan, come here illegally. You should be shipped straight back to where you've come from. Colin, if you don't have the right to stop people crossing your border, then what is the point of being an independent state? Surely that's what Brexit was about. A sovereign immigration policy where we can defend our own borders. And I think the British people are quite welcoming. I think that's part of our culture. But,
you're right.
Queue jumpers, people abusing the system, surely we've got to be tough on that.
But Jake, you're right. We have, but we've got to do it efficiently and effectively. I've helped 14 countries to do this, and the UK doesn't want to know. The UK continues to have things done in a rather piecemeal approach. It doesn't consolidate its agencies working on the borders. I mean, you look at Finland, you look at Sweden, you look at the United States, you look at Canada. They've got one agency dealing with all the enforcement issues on them in the maritime waters and borders. We've got 7 to 9, depending on how you look at them, all working under. There's no one consolidated framework. We've got no national strategy. Even Albania has a national strategy on borders. We don't. There are a whole series of things that are not being done, and it's all very well having a piece of legislation, but if you haven't put in place the structures, the organisations, the processes, the procedures, and the staff trained to do it, then
it is, by the way, just to agree with you, it is worrying that we are going to detain everyone that comes here. I actually do agree with that. I do think we should detain people if they come here illegally.
Including children, Emily?
But I think children, it can mean 16 to 18-year-olds. And yes, I do think there's an argument for detaining children of a certain age, because there's also the fear that if they abscond, they walk straight into the hands of traffickers. So there's two sides to that argument. No one wants to lock up children. I equally don't. I don't want to see these young girls ending up on the streets somewhere completely unprotected.
Yeah, because Emily, we know you see young girls arrive and they disappear.
And they do disappear. Can I just go to... I just thought it was worth bringing up Robert Jenrick's comments, because... And Suella Braverman echoed these as well. That they said that the values and lifestyles of people crossing the Channel in small boats threaten the UK's social cohesion. And I just want to ask you Ivon, because when he was asked to back this up, I have to say he didn't have a lot to back it up. Someone later from the government then said it was to do with that they were maybe not very well educated and didn't have a great grasp on English. And that was their research. But what do you think about that? I feel this was red flagging.
Well, it was. I think it's bordering on being semi-racist, if you ask me, because they want to welcome anyone who's like British people. If you're not like us, I don't see any homes for Afghan policies or homes for Yemenis, and yet a child is dying in Yemen every few minutes, and yet there's no policies to help those children. So I think, you know, there's nothing under the convention which says you've got to only allow asylum seekers who look like you, who've got your values and your social...
These conventions are 50 years out of date. We've managed to navigate our way through...
It's the law.
No, I'm just saying they need updating.
It is the law.
Final question can I just come to you with my final question, which is Home Secretary Suella Braverman has said people crossing the Channel to the UK are doing so illegally, therefore they're criminals. Is she right?
They're doing it illegally, as far as I'm concerned. And I would like to see a situation, Jake, where...
should we lock them up?
I think we do need to screen them and assess them, and if necessary, detain them. Yes,
good.
We don't have the facilities,
yes.
and we don't have. But at the moment, we don't have the legal facility as such, and we. Just briefly,
we don't have
airside and landside of airports. Why don't we have that legal facility at the maritime borders? And why don't we have the physical facilities to cope with operationalising?
Thank you very much. It feels like we could have done this all night. Thank you.